the countdown. It goes 5, 4, and then you don't say the last 3. You just, finger gesture it.
Fantastic timing on that. As the audio comes in, welcome everybody to the CEA Spring 2019 Week 3 for Starcraft 2. I am joined here. I am Eagle Searcher. I am joined here by Big Tisano and Patch. Say hello, fellas.
Hey guys, how's it going? This is Patch.
How's it going? This is Big Sano.
All right, so we are just now waiting for our match here to get set up. Lobby being created. We're going to see the Red Hat Hatlings going up against the Google YAM. So, set our matches today: New Repungency, King's Code, Cyberforce, Port Alexander, and if we need an ace match, it'll be Automaton. Any thoughts on today's matches?
I like the amount of TVZ, for one. My favorite matchup to watch. I think most people's favorite matchup to watch.
It's one of my favorite to play. I've rather enjoyed it.
Yeah. Starting off with our only mirror match of the day. Unless there's an H match. Could be a mirror. But, yeah.
Yeah, so it looks like we'll be starting New Repungency with the ZVZ. Of course, the TVT's a lot of fun. I think it's been one of the best matchups in StarCraft pretty much throughout all of StarCraft history. But the ZVZ also has its own sort of history. You see a lot of interesting play. Games can go either really long or really short.
Yeah. So if one of them tries to go for a mass speedling or an early baneling push, that's usually when the games tend to be pretty quick. If that doesn't happen, we tend to see the Roach Ravager battles for a good 10 minutes or so before the tech comes in.
Just real quick, it looks like we're having some stream issues, apparently some volume audio issues.
Yep. Working on it behind the scenes. We are fixing to get started though.
We're coming in at different volumes, I guess.
I have audio volume controls on Discord. So, unfortunately, there is a stream delay today. We have about a 60-second delay plus whatever residual Twitch delay there is, just to discourage any sort of cheating on behalf of either side. Patch, of course, joining us from Team Red Hat. He will be possibly playing in one of the later games today, but definitely don't want to give anybody any kind of unfair advantage.
Yeah.
I mean, as excited as I am to not play, because that would mean, our team would have done a 3-0 shootout. If in the probable chance that it goes to game 4, I'll end up dropping off and, making sure there's no unfairness going on.
Of course, in that case, that means we're getting a full set of StarCraft games. That'll be, more StarCraft. Everybody is always excited about.
Yeah. And we're going to be a big draw because we're going to pull audience away from the WCS America playoffs, right? We have that capability.
Absolutely. I mean, if we see some good StarCraft here today, I can't imagine that anyone would want to tune in the WCS. All right, so we have our game started. We'll be in the game just momentarily. Looks like our first matchup will be a ZVZ. Zergs on both sides.
Yeah, we've got Zip from Red Hat playing, how do we say that? Marathon?
Yep. So, looks like
Google.
in the upper right corner, starting off, for our Red Hat Hatlings, the red Zerg spawning with appropriate color is Zip. In the lower left corner, on Google YAM, is the purple Zerg, Marfon. For those of us joining us, unsure about what this whole business is about, this is the Corporate Esports Association. We are a bunch of nerds getting together to play Starcraft, really just have some fun, pretend we're professionals for an hour every Saturday. But at the end of the day, this is all for a good cause. We're actually here to raise money. All teams had a buy-in donation, and in the end of the day, whoever the winner is, they're going to designate a charity, and they'll get to take home all the money. So, fantastic cause. A lot of good StarCraft being played here. Looking forward to seeing what we see today.
Yeah, well said. We have early hatches going down for both players. The only difference I can see right now is a Geyser going up for Zip, while as no Geyser, late Geyser going up for our group. Both got their pools going, and looking very similar right now. Equal worker count.
Yeah, very mirror matchup. Spawning pools on almost identical timing, identical supply. That slightly earlier gas for Zip, going to allow him just to get that Ling speed out a little bit quicker, or maybe go into a Roach Warren, some higher tech. It'll be interesting to see what our players decide to do here.
Yeah. So ZVZ.
Yeah.
What do you think about it? What are you hoping we get to see?
Well, there's a lot of opportunity here. As the Overlords come into the base, they're going to... Red's Overlord's making it into the base, as well as the Purple's Overlord. Looks like we're going to get a lot of Lings popping out. Zip is starting Ling speed, so maybe wants to put on a lot of early pressure, get some aggression going, and sort of punish Purple for being really greedy. Marfon deciding to start working on that front wall, though. Gets a Spine Crawler down, gets the Evo. Getting that SimCity going in the natural is going to help provide sort of a defensive arc if Zip decides to engage early.
Yeah, we see a bit of different. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Roach Warren come down from Marfon, and there it is. He's probably going to get his queens there to fill out the wall. I'm guessing he senses that either he's going to be early aggression or he's just preparing for the worst.
Mm-hmm.
But he would be right, because Zip has 14 Lings in production in addition to the about the same amount, even more, streaming across the map right now.
Yes, and with that Baneling nest finished, he's going to start morphing in Banelings and try to bust this wall really quickly. That wall is complete, though. Double Evo plus the Roach Warren. He's not going to find a lot of room to get in here. Oh, but the Banelings find a way around. It's not a full wall. Gets the surround on the Queen with the Spore Crawler poking around. Huge connection from those Banelings. Gets 3 workers immediately. The Lings run into the main. Going to knock down the second Queen. Drones are pulled. Drones should be enough to clean up the Lings, but even more Lings continuing to come across the map. 2 more Banelings being spawned. These Lings are just doing terrible damage. 27 drones killed now. As more Lings roll into the natural, that Spine Crawler trying to get itself re-established. And there's the GG. Very quick 1-0 for Red Hat.
Well, the primary lesson there for anyone watching is to make sure your wall is complete, because it's a different game right now.
Yes, that was that was a terrible mistake. To think that wall was plugged there, and Zip was able to roll right in there and get the damage done.
Sorry. Yeah. Even if he had the wall complete, he had almost no units, or maybe none at all. It looked like available, so Zip would have busted.
Yeah, it looked like he was really starting to commit to a little bit of a later tech. Had his missile upgrades started. It looks like he wanted to commit to some of the roaches, play a little bit defensively. With a complete wall there, if he had an extra queen out to sort of plug that hole, just keep the Lings off for another 30 seconds. Probably would have had the units out to deal with it, but unfortunately, just not enough.
Yeah, and I would have liked to see him. He was making almost no use of that spine crawler the whole time. He only moved it basically when the game was already over. Something he could have done is maybe just rally all his workers around the spine crawler, therefore they're protected by it.
Yeah, good heads-up play from Zip, using the range of the spine crawler against Marfon there, engaging the workers on the back side of the natural, and then going ahead and running directly into the main, away from the spine crawler, doing most of the damage.
Yeah, so wow, a pretty quick game to start off the day, and looks like we're going to be getting into our second lobby shortly, which I believe is our first ZVT.
That would be correct. It's a ZVT on King's Cove. I know we talked a little bit about all of our love of ZVT a little bit in the beginning. What would you like to see sort of opening in this map?
Well, I would like to see this go to Battlemech, because that is my favorite to watch, period. And we're seeing some nice examples of it for anyone that's watching WCS America and saw Masa's games just a little bit earlier. What makes Battlemech so fun is it's just the antithesis of what people think of when they think of a turtling mech player. You have packs of Cyclones and Hellions, Blue Flame Hellions roaming around the map. There's just action all the time, always fighting going on. So I'm open to see that. How about you?
Oh yeah, no, active games that'll be fantastic. Just a moment here while we continue to get the lobby set up.
Sorry about dropping out that last game. I ended up having to step away for a hot second. But
Glad to have you back.
little momentary items, you know. I was rather surprised it went that quickly. Kind of excited for Zip to pull that off.
Yeah, it was a well-executed attack and worked well. Well, since we're all Terran mains here, and now we have a Terran to talk about, so I'm excited.
Yeah.
We'll try to be equal and, care as much about the Zerg race. It's hard sometimes, but we'll try.
All right, so with that countdown, we are going into map number 2, King's Cove, between Voodalisk on the Red Hat Hatlings and Mild Shock from Google YAM. In the upper left corner here on King's Cove, we have our red Zerg, Voodalisk, from Red Hat. In the lower right, our green Terran, Google YAM Cineon. Fun fact, Big Toe, did you know, you can see Google YAM's clan tag here, 10 to the 100. That is 10 with 100 digits in. Do you know the name of that number?
A quadzillion.
That would be a Google.
Oh, okay.
And is, in fact, the origin of Google's original name.
All right. That is, that's good info. Thank you, sir. So we've got a barracks going down. We got a pretty early refinery out of our Terran player, and it looks like he might be completing the wall at his front with a second supply depot. Got the SCV in hand. Yep. And go ahead. We got a second hatch out of our Zerg player. Pretty standard opening.
That wall off was pretty quick. I'm wondering if he's just worried about maybe some early link pressure before he could finish it off or something like that.
Yeah.
It's gonna put that second command center behind a little bit, but looks like he's going racks it anyway before expanding.
Yeah, it may be that he actually just wants to prevent the Zerg from scouting into his base, prevent those early drone or Ling scouts If he wants to go up to, you know, heavy marine play, lots of barracks to hit early, this may be his opportunity to get some early damage in against the Zerg. You know, punish him for being really greedy with the expansions.
Yeah, I'm guessing we're going to see a Mass Reaper coming out here with that early reactor. There's not really much reason to get that first if you're not going to build Reapers, because you do want to get that Tech Lab stim being the most important Terran upgrade there is.
Right, but we do see the factory going down for Terran, so it may suggest that he's just powering up for a big one-base push. Meanwhile, the Zerg going ahead and dropping that really quick third base. Looks like he is trying to be a little bit greedy here. Just now, Overlord's starting to get into the natural of the Terran. He's going to probably be a little concerned now, worried about something that probably going to start scouting, looking for proxies, looking for anything to come really quickly. Expanding that quickly, the Zerg doesn't have access to a lot of army units. It's going to take him a little bit of time to ramp up production.
Yeah, one thing our Terran player is doing I really like, if you look at the bottom left corner of his base, I'm going to call that the anti-Nidus worm depot, because that's pretty much what that's for.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to spot anything it might be in the corner of your base.
Yeah, this is a fantastic heads-up placement for that depot. Any kind of Nidus action, anything along those lines. As you can see, the Overlord starting to mosey his way on over to that ledge. Of course, if Voodalisk did want to go into Nidus play, Voodalisk's still sitting on only one gas, so it doesn't seem to be his immediate goal. Just really seems to want to macro up. Meanwhile, the Terran just continuing to build up, dropping add-ons to all this infrastructure. Reactor barracks, Tech Lab barracks, reactor starport, and then the Tech Lab on the factory. Just going to be a really beefy, scary army here in about another minute.
Yeah, and we have our Zerg player, of course, getting Ling speed just finished. The Baneling nest has gone down, and looks like he's just now. What is he adding here? Oh no, still on one geyser, no other tech to be seen, but does have his Zerglings right outside the enemy natural. And what do we got going on here from our Terran player?
So we've got the Mudback has picked up 8 Marines and has started to move out. This looks like this timing's going to coincide really well with stim finishing. If he can get there, going to creep around the top side of the map, make sure he's not scouted, but there will be an Overlord in his path. We'll see if that Overlord gets sight of the drop and if Voodalisk can respond to it. Medevac currently parked in the upper right. Looks like he's loading up a second Medevac. It's going to be a multi-pronged drop, but flies right over those Lings. Those Lings, hopefully, if he's paying attention to his minimap, sees that Medevac flying over to the lower side, while at the same time that upper Medevac has started to move in.
Yeah, he is keeping the larger army at his base. He only has those 8 or so Lings in front of the Terran base, so I think he does know what's going on. So, and there we go, we got first drop going on at the third.
Lings there, ready to clean up. Only lost 1 Marine so far, but those 2 Queens there to start picking at the Medevac. Second Medevac starting to move up on the left side. There is a Spore Crawler there, ready for it though. And, you know, the Lings are also ready, so unloading now. 8 Marines coming out. Lings doubling back. Those 2 Queens starting to pick off Marines. Medevac decides to pick up 4 Marines. He's going to go check out the main, see if he can do just a little bit more poke damage. Take out a couple of drones. He needs to do a lot of damage here. Voodalisk already establishing a large worker lead. 50 workers to 27. That's just the power of that 3-base macro. Without some punishment, the Zerg economy is just going to start taking off.
Yeah, as you said, we've got a 3-base economy Zerg, and our Terran does have his second orbital finishing, but of course he's not mining at all from his natural, just now bringing it down there. So he's got at a pretty big economic deficit. He does have a Liberator popping out. I'm curious to see if that's going to be purely defensive, or he's going to, looks like it is for now. Still got his 2 Medevacs. Oh, one just went down from this Queen here, and he's just sitting there. Gonna have to do something with that.
Yeah, he's not having a lot of luck with these drops. Really kind of hoping for a lot more damage, especially staying on one base for so long. Really good. Really good awareness, trying to attack from multiple sides at a time, but just not able to coordinate it perfectly to sort of split the attention of the Zerg. He's been able to basically clean up these drops one at a time and then run his speedlings back across the map to deal with the other. Starting to deal with the two scoutinglings, just trying to take a peek, see what the Terran's doing, and as well as this drop sort of pushing the scouting overlord back a little bit. Still not a lot of high tech coming out of Voodalisk. His Spire has started, so it looks like he's going to go into a little bit more airplay. We do have the Hydrogen with both Hydra upgrades already started. They are queued up one behind the other, so he is getting all the tools necessary for him to deal with whatever the Terran's going to throw at him next.
Yeah, and of course Centrifuge Hooks just finished, so we got our Baneling speed. And his creep spread is looking pretty nice too. He's got before he even has the fourth base. Oh, sorry, he got the fourth going, but he's got the fifth base even all creeped up already. He's gonna be well defended should the Terran ever push out.
Yeah, this is a very fast army. The Lings and the Mutas, if he decides to go that route, able to respond very quickly, get back and forth across the map. He's doing a fantastic job with his creep spread. All those extra queens that he popped out. Doubling as both creep spreaders and giving him that extra defense against the medevacs, helping him shut down those drops. It's been very effective so far, but we'll see. The Terran army starting to look really scary. Quite a few tanks and liberators on the field.
Yeah, so I mean, we look at the supply, and you got a 41 differential, 40 now, but if you look at the army, there's actually only a 6 differential, so it's really on our Terran player. I'd like to see them get something going, because the longer the game goes on, those 32 workers, that's going to make a big difference for a Zerg player.
Right, and if you look at the army compositions too, this Terran army is so much stronger than the Ling Bane Hydra that Voodalisk has got. But Voodalisk is sitting on a large bank. He's got 1,100 minerals. I'd like to see him maybe spend that, start working on maxing out. He is really close to supply blocked. Needs to get those overlords out. 3 in production.
Looks like an attempted late run by, but we have a full wall on both sides. Not going to get anything done, but he is just what he is getting a lot of use out of is making sure there's no third down.
Yes.
So Voodalisk knows that this game is going his way the longer it goes on.
And
yeah, the Terran hanging out here in this defensive positions, really just putting him behind quite a bit. He doesn't do anything to try to take any extra bases or anything. He's going to be behind for a while.
yes, and Voodalisk dropping the 5th now, so just, win ahead, get more ahead. But the Terran mech starting to be scary, getting those upgrades. 2-2 started on both sides. We'll see if he has enough, if he's just turtling for a defensive hold, or if he wants to maybe push at a certain timing.
Yeah, one thing that Voodalisk did that I really like is not upgrading his main base hatch and instead choosing his natural. Sometimes you see, of course, Zerg players do that, but this being his most important building later on, he's protecting himself against drops. And oh, looks like we got a Liberator coming in here in the back, but it is in range of the Spore Crawler, so that's unfortunate.
Yep. Not a lot of workers at that base. It is Buddha's newest base. Spore Crawler there to shut it down, obviously, but still annoying. Those Liberators can just dealing with them, not too hard to deal with, but they can do a lot of damage if you're not paying attention. Another little small pack of Lings crossing the map now, gonna just barely miss that patrolling group of Marines and tanks. Sees no third base yet. He knows that he is far ahead in economy. He just needs to. This is his game to lose. He just needs to not lose.
Yeah, this is an interesting push out. He's only bringing about half his army or less. Trying to split up, but
bad pathing on those Lings runs right through the Marines. Loses a few unnecessarily, but with his economy right now, it's not a big deal.
generally as the Terran player, you don't want to, unless you're dropping on multiple bases at once, there's really not much reason to send a small portion of your army in a flank position. That's more of what the Zerg is going to try to do. So I'd like to see the Terran player bring his whole army and put it in one spot. It's going to have his best chance of winning.
So lots of things coming out now, all the upgrades finishing, but most importantly, Ultralisks coming out on the field for the Zerg. Those Ultralisks are going to be a little tough for the Terran to deal with. Doesn't have a lot of Liberators on the field yet. Those tanks pretty effective, but when those ultra upgrades finish, they're just basically going to be able to run through the tanks whenever they like. Trying to...
Got a big Ling run by and some Hydras here denying that third, and it's real bad for our Terran player because he desperately needs to get that economy built up.
Yeah, this small contingent of Zerg forces just really being annoying, keeping that third from dropping. Meanwhile, the rest of the army being engaged at the front, he gets his first view of those Ultras, and he knows those Ultras are just out for hugs. Everybody knows Ultras are the most huggable unit in Starcraft.
Oh yeah, there's no question.
It's my favorite thing to do.
Chitinous plating finished for the Ultras, so they are super beefy right now. Gonna protect them just a little bit more against them tank shots and make those Marines just a little bit less effective. A lot of Corruptors on the field as well. Not sure whether he wants to transition into Broodlords or if he's just using that as air support. Knock down those medevacs.
Our Terran player is finally getting his third base up and running. He does have some defenses going up. I'd like to see him keep that. But the Zerg is moving forward pretty fast, and moving right past the bulk of the Terran army towards the third. It's not looking good.
Yeah, most of the Terran army, all those tanks are just way out of position. This is not a good engagement for our Terran. Decides to pick up the base, wants to go home, but there's a lot of Corruptors there. They're going to make sure it goes nowhere. Terran, still sitting in the middle of his map with his army, decides he's going to go ahead and move forward now. See if he can't get into a base trade scenario. If we do get into a base trade, Zerg has a lot of buildings, but they unfortunately can't lift those buildings. Key advantage of the Terran race.
Yeah, it looks like he is bringing home his army and also morphing a bunch of Broodlords back near the Terran base, so I'm guessing he made... Oh, there they are. So they're all coming back. And,
so
that Terran army is going to get cleaned up.
Yeah, cleans up the tanks very easily. Bio moves in, gets snipes on some of the buildings in the front there, but those Ultras and Banelings, they're just mowing through those Bio units for the Terran. Voodalisk taking a commanding lead, double supply right now. 118 army to 39 for the Terran. What do you think it's going to take for the Terran to get back in this?
You know, I can't see what it's going to take, to be honest, but he's just, yeah, this looks like the end.
Yeah, there's the GG. So 2-0 start for Red Hat. Very strong opening so far. Red Hat looking very good in the first two maps.
Yeah, that was a strong game from our Zerg player. I would like to see the Terran exploit a win. I thought he had a win right about when Vuelis was taking his fourth base or so. As we pointed out, the army supply was pretty close, and that was his chance to even that gap and knock him down a base or two. And he just wasn't able to do it. So this is now match point for our Red Hat team.
Sorry, I was muted up. But yeah, it's kind of hard to really slowly turtle out and expand as a Terran against a Zerg, especially someone macroing like that. You've got to be a little quicker, do a little bit more map control as you lead out.
Yeah. and just make use of. He had a nice tank count going for him. I like to see that. I'd just like to see him maybe position them either defensively or offensively. He was sort of just holding in what seemed like an arbitrary point on the map, and so it didn't end up working out too well for him. But it was a good game and fun to watch.
Yes, so that puts us at 2-0 for the Red Hat Hatlings. We're looking at game number 3 on Cyber Forest. Yet another TVZ, but we're flipping the roles this time. This time we're going to see a Zerg from the Hatlings and a Terran from YAM.
Yeah, I'm hoping we get, well, that was a mid-range game, but I'm hoping we get a full macro game this time. See the full range of the tech tree.
So just taking a minute here, getting the lobby set up, working out some of our technical issues, and we will be started here in a moment. Game 3 on Cyber Forest.
This is one of those maps that has a nice big open area in the main. It's kind of hard to see much over there. For Zerg, it's a really good Nidus worm location. I know I've been bit by it quite a few times.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, pretty good series so far. Got a nice quick game, early rush. Got a nice macro game going on. Curious as to what's going to happen in this map. As our sleep, pretty proficient Platinum Zerg. I haven't seen Kin Corn Karn play really, so it'll be interesting to see his play style.
Yeah. Again, I'm hoping for Battle Mech, but we'll take whatever we get.
Battle Mech's the only way to go against Zerg. It's,
Well, we did just see the yeah, we did
BC Rush. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say we just saw a bio composition that was pulled out, less effective than perhaps we wanted it to be. It's just so easy for the Zerg to counter with the Ultras, with the Banelings, so much mobility. Even with those drops, our Red Hat Zerg was able to respond to all of that, not able to get the damage in that he needed.
Yeah, I mean, he had sort of a weird composition with just the amount of tanks and the amount of bio was very split. And his medevac production also. So I don't know. I'm interested to see whether this player does it all bio, all mech, what they come up with.
All right, then. With that countdown, that means the map is starting. We'll be going into Game 3 here momentarily. Cyber Forest LE between Red Hat Hatlings and Google YAM. So, starting out in the bottom right for Google YAM, our yellow Terran, King Corn Karn. That rolls off the tongue. In the upper left, from the Red Hat Hatlings, we have Mr. Sleep, our pink Zerg.
Yeah. Looking at this map, what do you think? Bio, mech favored, Zerg favored, Terran favored? How do you like the bases? How do you like the layout of expansions?
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
The thing I like on this map really is the very narrow ramp, right as the natural entrance from the map. Makes it a little easier to wall off, especially playing against Zerg. Can help keep those units from really overwhelming it too early.
Yeah, that natural ramp is definitely one of the shortest in all the maps, as well as the main base. So interesting to see what they do. Pretty standard early hatch. Looks like barracks and reactor going up. Curious if we are going to have a full wall like last game from our Terran player. Hasn't put it up yet, but he is sending out an early scout, which is nice to see. So see what he finds.
Doesn't see much. He sees the first hatch going down. Pretty standard from a Zerg. Also sees the pool and the gas. He's gonna scout that there is only one gas from the Zerg, so rules out some of the heavier attack openings. A Nidus rush, a lot of roaches, something to be scared about in the next couple of minutes. However, it doesn't rule out the Ling Flood. A lot of options still here. It's gonna deciding not to take out that SCV. SCV just getting tons of information the longer he stays in the space.
Yeah, without any attacking units up, he's going to have some time to do lots of scouting. Our Terran player is getting his second base established, getting the orbital going, as well as a defensive bunker, nicely positioned spot there. Looks like he got his SCV set up for some tech on the left side of his base, factory going down now.
Yes, not sure whether he's looking to hide that factory, keeping it away from the edges where the Overlord or Ling run by can take a look at it, or if he's just choosing to use the left side of the base, sort of get some map vision on that large void. Big void on the left side of the Terran base, very good for Nidusing into. Nidus, of course, that ever popular strategy on the ladder these days.
Yeah, and so we got Ling Speed researching, just some pretty typical stuff at third base going down for a Zerg player, as well as just a few drones, a few Overlord production, pretty standard. We do have a full wall coming up on the Terran side with that second barracks and depot. And it looks like he cancels his, cancels a reactor for the tech lab. So I'm guessing we're going to see tanks most likely, unless he wants a cyclone for early vision.
But that Overlord is coming in for the scout on the bottom side of the base. No threat of a Nidus at the moment, but if he moves in a little bit, he'll be able to see all of the Terran tech. He'll be able to see that tech lab on the factory and everything that entails. Maybe wants to start getting tanks out. Hasn't started production on anything yet, but just trying to ramp up his economy. Starting to fall behind on workers. 34 workers for the Zerg to 21 for the Terran. Mr. Sleep looks like he just wants to macro hard here.
Yeah, so we got the tech lab finishing on the barracks. I'd like to see him get stim going pretty soon, unless he is going for a full mech build. Curious to see what he got. We got a second geyser going down.
Opting to start his engineering bay, so looks like he may be intending to go for bio upgrades, sort of a bio composition. See if he can, perhaps have a little bit better luck than we're looking possibly a pause here.
Yeah. Looks like a pause was requested. Let's see what happens. We do have a turret going up in the meanwhile, nicely positioned in the corner. And that Overlord is going to get taken out. So
very good placement for that turret.
Yeah, so we've got a lair coming up for Zerg. The Baneling nest is finished. Got a spores in each the two main bases. And yeah, the game's progressing pretty pretty normally. I'd like to see some more creep spread.
Yeah.
Seems a little bit behind on that.
Yeah, very limited creep spread. Not as many queens as our previous match showed. Decides to send all 3 queens down to inject the same hatch rate. Not the most efficient use there. Maybe getting his hotkeys a little mixed up. But has just enough creep that those queens aren't struggling too much with the transition.
So one thing for newer players is you'll see when you click on the main base or the refineries for gas, you get that number telling you that 12 out of 16 we see here in the Zerg's natural. If you look up to his extractor, there's a 4/3, which means he's wasting time on those workers. The optimal amount is 3. That's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, no additional benefit from that 4th worker. I see. So what's actually happened here? There's a rule in the CEA. If you submit your lineup, you need to submit your lineups by Wednesday. If you submit your lineups a day late, there is a rule in place for a unit ban. In this case, the Terran, Red Hat chose, I believe Red Hat chose to ban siege tanks, and the Terran has built them. It's not entirely clear what's going on, but we will keep observing as long as the game is running. Sorry for the funkiness, the unusual circumstances here. We're just trying to observe some Starcraft.
Yeah, the Terran is turtling pretty hard here, and as our Zerg player gets expanded more, lots of gas geysers going down. We have range upgrades going on for the Hydralisk Den, and not a whole lot of unit production out of our Zerg player. He seems pretty confident, maybe because he's got vision of any possible third base, so pretty much knows what he's up against, and it's a turtling Terran player for now.
Since that Overlord has sacrificed his life trying to get any kind of scouting information, but those double turrets there, they're ready to take it out. Mr. Sleep seems desperate to check out the tech up of the Terran. Terran starting his 3rd command center. We'll see if he can catch up now. And there's 2 medevacs loading up full of Marines. Overseer there, he sees it fly away. Medevacs fly directly over the Lings, but the medevac's deciding to come home. Change of heart.
Yeah, he seems a bit confused on what to do next. He knows he's been scouted. He's gonna fly right over these Lings now, so gonna have to make a on-the-fly judgment here. We have a 4th base going down from our Zerg player. He's getting a bunch of base defense in his main too, if you see there. Got all kinds of Hydra speed going, double upgrades.
Yeah, so
players. Go ahead.
Yeah, so he saw those medevacs starting to move across the map and decided, he doesn't want to lose anything to a drop. So getting those static defenses, keeping his army based in the main base. That's just going to make him as defensive as possible. Deflect any kind of potential harassment from the Terran. Meanwhile, the Terran, his 3rd base is finished. If he floats it out, it's going to put him pretty on even par with the Zerg. A couple Marines getting picked off here. Lings and Queens, plenty enough to clean it up.
Yeah, there's not much that medevac's going to get done. He's got to be careful he doesn't get shot out of the air from that spore crawler there. Just going to land in the base, but only 4 Marines. Probably not going to get much done.
Yes.
Most of the tech buildings are down in the natural. Again, a good idea for Zerg players. Easier to defend as the game goes on. Or central location.
Gets 2 drone kills. Probably would have been a little bit more effective had he tried to pull those 2 drops in at the same time, just to divert the Zerg's attention. But electing just to take a little bit of poke damage. Mr. Sleep sitting on a large bank of money, though. Even though the Terran is pulled slightly ahead in supply, Mr. Sleep sitting on 3,000 minerals, 1,500 gas. if he decided he needed an army, he could have one in a hurry.
Yeah, we see that supply, but of course you look at the worker count, there's over 30, or 30 now, and our Zerg player way ahead. Our army supply, of course, it's the opposite story. You've got about a 40 army supply for our Terran player, so it's really, again, on him, like our previous game, to make something, get some value out of that army advantage.
Yes, and this army is starting to look very scary for King Corn Karn. A lot of tanks, a lot of medevacs, a lot of marines. They are beefy, and they look like they may be ready to start moving across the map. He may be just trying to establish this fourth, or he may be deciding to now is the time to be aggressive. No clear timing on the way. His weapons and armor 2 for his infantry started. Meanwhile, 1-1 already finished for Mr. Sleep. With hive upgrades on the way, the Cracklings and the Greater Spire.
Yeah, the army, the tech is going to be very soon a favorite for our Zerg player. We have a small force of Lings, Hydra, and Bane moving out on the right side of the map, and our Terran army getting pretty close to it too. So it looks like we're gonna have a fight breaking out here with the Lings streaming in. Hydra's getting an early hit, but small Zerg army is not going to trade well against that Terran army.
Fantastic hits with the Banelings, though.
Yeah, definitely.
Overall, a good trade in general for Mr. Sleep, but taking out a lot of those bio forces, even managed to squeeze in a few spies with the Changelings. But quite a few tanks still on the board, and Mr. Sleep looks like he is ready to transition to endgame. Those Broodlords morphing right under the nose of this Terran army. Looks like he might be setting up for some kind of pincer.
Yeah. Oh, we got a small misrally of Lings going right into our Terran army. Looks like he's trying to close down the rocks, or open it. Sorry, I don't get that move really, but got Lings denying the fourth base there. And you have a flank coming in on the army.
So yes, the Broodlords engage from the top, the Lings and Banes engaging from the bottom. Medevacs don't manage to pick everything up. The Corruptors are just chasing them now. Trying to meet back up with this other conjugate of Terran forces. He needs to siege, he needs to get in position, but as those Broodlords start making their way across the map, Terran doesn't have very many answers. No Vikings on the field for the Terran. He's not going to be able to clean these Broodlords up very efficiently. As those tanks start shelling the Broodlings, they're just going to do so much splash damage to their own friendly units.
Yeah, we have our Terran player continuing to make medevacs out of his starport. I don't know. We should be seeing Viking production instead, as you mentioned. But that planetary is going to hold for a while on the low ground. This might be GG, though.
Yes,
I have an answer.
Yeah, there's no answer to these Corruptors and the Broodlords, and as more Lings continue to flood across the field, 18 more Lings just finishing. This looks like it's going to be tough. That planetary managed to kill all the Lings that were assaulting it, but not a whole lot coming out of the main for the Terran to deflect the main of the Zerg army.
It's looking rough for the human race here.
Yeah, Zerglings continuing to overflow, and there's the GG from King Corn Karn. That's a 3-0 victory for Red Hat, as Red Hat takes the series in Week 2.
Yeah. It's sort of a similar game to our Zerg player go for a very macro economy build, and our Terran player instead go for to get the larger mid-game army, but not really capitalize on that advantage. And by the time the fight ended up happening, our Zerg player had their army as well, and of course that was the end of the story.
Yeah, very close. In fact, very similar styles that we saw out of both Voodalisk and Mr. Sleep. Very macro-heavy Just getting that Ling Bane composition. Of course, we saw the Ultras from Budalisk and the Broodlord transition from Mr. Sleep. Meanwhile, also very similar styles out of our Google YAM Terrans, opting for that bio composition, Marine Marauder tank, a lot of medevacs. King Corn Karn opting for a lot more medevacs than his previous compatriot. Not quite enough in the end.
Yeah, there maybe a few too many medevacs, but nonetheless, it's a very enjoyable game.
I mean, it can be easy to just accidentally keep pumping them out, and you get that key combo just set out, and you just forget that you need to switch.
Well, absolutely. I think what with the drops he was going for, half the you want to do damage with the drops, but you also want to get scouting information on the Zerg tech, and it's possible that King Karn had not scouted the Spire. Without knowing the Spire is out, without knowing the Corruptors and the Broodlords were an issue, didn't have time to ramp up that Viking production. Just wasn't prepared when they appeared on the field.
Yeah, it was tough for him to deal with. I did like the large stim in under the Broodlords. I think he took out a couple, but just didn't have the composition to deal with all those Broodlings.
Right. Very close game. All 3 games today. Very good. Definitely enjoyable StarCraft. And keep tuning in. We'll be here at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, and noon West Coast every Saturday for more Corporate Esports Association action. I am Eagle Search. I am joined by Big Toe and Patch. And we all appreciate you tuning in for the stream today.
Yep, thanks for showing up, guys. We appreciate this.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
I'm getting invited to a game.
I'm not.
It might be coming. Okay, well, it looks like we're getting some bonus StarCraft here. We're going to go ahead and play out the 4th match. I personally am not up on the rules on if all 4 matches are needed to be played, but Red Hat has taken the series. But if we can get some more StarCraft, we are happy to cast some more StarCraft.
That's right. Not gonna overthink it. If we have another game to cast and watch, then let's do it.
So, if you, everybody can just give us just a moment. We're going to work out the technical difficulties here, setting up the lobby. And we will be back shortly. Obviously, Patch has to jump out. This is his game. So, Team Caster, we're getting ready to see what he has available to throw at his his YAM opponent.
Yeah. Good luck.
Not gonna lie, I'm a little worried. As you see by the silver or platinum versus gold borders.
Hey,
it's
a best of 1 series.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, best of 1 series. Anybody can win. So good luck, Batch. We look forward to seeing what you got.
All right. We have our game starting in a moment. Going to be another TVZ. This time with our Red Hat team as the Terran player and Google team as the Zerg player.
Yep, slight change of pace here. Obviously, I think it's been well stated so far on the stream. We're all a big fan of TVZ. I think it's just a fantastic matchup. Going back through all the iterations of the of StarCraft 2, it's sort of that classic sort of humans versus the bugs. I think everybody just kind of appeals to.
Yeah, you're It's Starship Troopers, the video game.
Exactly.
And who doesn't want to see that?
All right, so lobby is set. We are loading in. We are getting ready to start bonus game. Game number 4 between Red Hat Hatlings and Google YAM. We'll be looking at Port Alexander LE. Taking just a moment to load into the game here.
What do you think here, Eagle? We're going to have a rush game? We're going to have a long game?
We'll see. There's a lot of options, obviously. Patch, has been sitting here with us. I'm sure he is welcome to repeat all of the mistakes that the last two Terrans have made, but this is sort of a no-pressure situation for him. The results here don't matter. Red Hat has won the series, but we'll see what comes out. So, starting this map, in the lower right corner, our Blue Terran, our co-caster himself, not currently with us, for those playing at home, is Patch from the Red Hat Hatlings. And in the upper left corner, our Red Zerg, Ariok from Google YAM.
Yeah. Curious to see what sort of builds we have. We got an early geyser going down from our Terran player. Could signal some early aggression, and a pretty standard hatch before pool from our Zerg player.
Yeah, very standard builds we've seen. Nothing very cheesy today. Very standard Starcraft, very good Starcraft. Going into the macro games, it has largely been a tale of attempted aggression and very good defensive play. Has really guided the results that we've seen so far. Ariok expressing some surprise in chat there. Not sure what that's about, but his gas is finished. His spawning pool nearly complete.
Look, he's just that excited to be playing the game of StarCraft. That's what it is.
Well, I am just as excited to be casting.
We have a SCV scout going over, and our Zerg player has no attacking units out to divert it just yet. So he will get a scout. Not a whole lot that he's going to see. It's going to surprise him. Pretty standard one geyser Zerg getting some gas for maybe link speed or something like that.
SCV poking that mineral line, just providing just the tiniest bit of annoyance, but actually picks up a bunch of minerals and decides, it's time for him to get out. Kind of park his SCV there, maybe get a sneaky scout later on. The question is he going to notice the third base coming down for Ariok? Ariok taking notes from the previous games, deciding macro Zerg is a superior strategy.
Absolutely, and we have our tech lab. Looks like our Terran players switching their tech lab to their factory, probably for an early tank. We have an orbital going down on his natural. He does have the wall, and he's taking his barracks to build a wall at his natural. Looks like that Overlord is going to see everything.
The sacrificial barracks might mean we could see some factory heavy play here. In fact, we could see some battle mech.
Oh man, battle mech to end the day would just be the best thing ever. We have a third command center coming down, so I'm guessing this is a mech build. But we do have some lings moving across the map, so going to need to get some kind of attacking units in place to deal with those.
The tank does come out on the high ground. Doesn't have a whole lot to protect the natural per se, but the tank will be able to clean these lings up just fine to keep them way out of the main. Link speed about to finish, 14 seconds out, as Patch continues to build his wall of depots. Unlikely to be done in time unless he goes ahead and drops that barracks. Good play with the barracks though, scouting those void areas next to his main, giving his marine vision in those places where the overlords like to hang out and just get their perv on.
Yeah, that perv perch, you gotta watch out for that. Can't have that. So he's denying that voyeurism there. So We got a large amount of Ling production and Bane production soon. Just got one Baneling now, looks like. But we're going to have a serious attack coming in here. And our Terran player does not have much to deal with this.
Yeah, 2 tanks on the field, 1 more tank coming out. That supply depot wall, surprisingly, very effective. Just enough hit points there to soak everything. Maybe not enough Banelings in there.
Yeah, what does it take? It takes 3 or 4 to kill a depot, and assuming they make it there. So you usually want to have 5 or 6 going into that wall if you can.
Yeah, and those 2 SCVs standing there, making sure that depot wall is back up to full health. With those 2 tanks, though, sitting there protecting that wall, they're just going to do a lot of damage on any kind of ground units running in.
It's a really nice position for tanks, of course, as you mentioned, where that high ground tank has got vision of protecting both bases, really, and even the 3rd base later on. Looks like our Zerg player has got the layer up. He's kind of building up his macro. Not a whole lot of tech coming in at all, really. Curious to see what you think he's going to head for roaches, or are we going to see mutas?
Well, there are 24 Lings in production, so it seems like he might want to retry that attack again. Patch moving his siege tanks out a little bit further now, far less protected than behind that mineral line, or behind that depot line. That's going to make him considerably open to a huge run by, especially with these Banelings that presumably Ariok will be morphing in.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. We got a macro hatch going up in the Zerg's main. That'll be his 5th hatchery with counting that new base that just went up. So he's going to have plenty of larvae available.
Plenty of larvae, and that 5th base. So this is actually a very good, very intelligent attack by the Zerg, flooding those Lings, those 24 Lings we saw pop. Try to move them across the map, engage the Terran, keep him at home, and expand behind it. It seems like a pretty effective strategy here with the Terran that seems content to sort of sit back and macro on 3 bases.
Yeah, we've got a total of 6 factories once they're all complete here. So we're going to have some major infrastructure going up for our Terran player. He's got the some comments on stream here.
Ariok is concerned about his play, understandably, but he seems to be in good position. Supplies very close right now. Army supply nearly tied, 40-37. Slight worker lead for the Zerg, as expected. Of course, Terran has those mules. They can catch up in minerals very quickly.
Yeah. Got some armor upgrades going on for a Terran player. Hellions, Thors in production. So it looks like he is going for that more traditional mech style. Although we could see some Cyclones. We'll see. Hold out hope.
Blue Flame coming down for his Hellbats as well. Make them just that a little bit more effective against the heavy Ling style that he's seen so far. Ariok going ahead and dropping that infestation pool. Next step to the hive.
Yep. Got some base defense going up in our Zerg main base. I like the position of that Spore Crawler in that top right corner there. Very effective against drop play. We got the infestation pit going down, so that's going to open up the 3rd tier attack for the Zerg, get that hive. So
1-1. Yeah, 1-1 finishing for the Zerg now. Probably a good opportunity to hit right before the Armor 1 upgrade finishes for the Terran. Terran getting his 4th established. 4-base Terran, kind of scary. Able to power up that mech so hard, as well as getting those upgrades. Lots of Hellbats coming out. Thors being produced. This is going to be a very beefy, difficult to kill army.
Yeah, got an unmovable object here being built by our Terran player. So we'll see what Zerg's doing to counter. He's going to need mobility. Is probably going to be his best advantage. So I do like the Ling Bane composition. I'll see what he's going to add to it. You think we're going to see Ultras here or Broodlords?
It's a difficult call here. Either one has advantages and disadvantages. Obviously, the Broodlord's going to be countered by those fire bats pretty well. Ultra's less effective than against a sort of bio composition where you have a lot of units that can take that splash damage. Ultras and Thors will kind of smash at each other, but if you can get a really mobile army like the Ultras, you can potentially dance around and never engage these Thors. We do have an engagement rung by coming into north. Just seeing if he can do any damage. Gets a vision of that blue flame for the first time. Sees what he's up against. Infestor rolling along. That was a mistake there. That Infestor just got toasted.
Yeah, a Baneling hit coming in at the 4th base, taking out all those workers, and a lot of Banelings coming in towards the army, but not much support for them.
Yeah, 15 workers going down in that engagement, putting Patch further behind. Definitely can't support all 4 bases that he has, but with that 4 base, having those 4 orbitals, going to give him a lot of mules to work with.
Looks like 16 workers went down in that.
So, interesting enough, production tab a second ago, 70 Lings in production along with 6 Swarm Hosts. Looks like Ariok is just deciding to go for the overrun strategy here.
Yeah. Has he gotten the crackling upgrade? I don't have it up here to see. We got Swarm Hosts in production, a couple of more Infestors. Looks like he's bringing the bulk of his army home.
Yeah, no cracklings yet. Has finished Baneling speed, has 2-1 on his ground melee. Even more Lings in production. It's another 16 coming. It's just going to overrun these forces. Obviously, the Hellbats with Blue Flame will toast through them, but the Thors can quickly be chewed up by these light units, just surrounded and taken out. Lots of Banelings in that ball, too. Less effective against these really heavy armored units. As you can see, starting to pick away at that core there. Takes out several Thors, but more Hellbats rolling in from the left side. As there's a small detachment that takes out that far left Zerg expansion just established. Thor's now dancing around in the center of the map. Not exactly sure they want to engage onto the creep. It's going to give them even more of a mobility disadvantage, but right now he's just... there's not much the Zerg can do to crack this force. Just a really tough combination here.
Yeah, I like the Swarm Host production. They're pretty effective against Mech. He is a little bit late to get them. We have 7 about to pop. We'll see if he can get anything done with these Swarm Hosts and Festival.
Unfortunately, 3 of those Swarm Hosts popping right in the middle of that Mech army, as well as one of those Infestors. So the Mech army killing 22 workers, just continuing to roll through. Terran has powered up. This is a scary moment for the Zerg. Not sure what it's going to take for him to defend here, but it's probably something he doesn't have.
Yeah, that's once you get enough Thors in a contained area like that, they're just very hard to engage because for one, you can only hit so many of them at once. But here we go, we got Lings streaming in, Swarm Hosts coming in, but they don't have Locusts out.
Yeah, disadvantage of those Swarm Hosts. They can only fire Locusts so often. Heavily nerfed since Heart of the Swarm. Very effective as a siege weapon, but not that great on their own.
Yeah, our Zerg player supply is plummeting. Army. Not sure what he can do. He does have some money still available, but what's really tough for Zerg players when you're being attacked, of course your reinforcements are, and we got the GG called out, so yeah.
GG. So Red Hat takes the bonus match.
That was an entertaining game.
That was entertaining. And again, Patch perhaps learning from his mistakes, learning from the mistakes of the Terrans before him, opting not to go bio, goes for a traditional mech comp, macros up, build some Hellbats and Thors and just sort of A moves into the Zerg base.
Yeah. It was nice to see the Terrans get a win in their camp. It was a rough day for the Terrans.
A little bit of a rough day, but you know, they do clean up at the end in our bonus match. Another entertaining match, of course. Could have gone either way. A lot of room there for both of the players to react and perhaps do something a little bit more optimal. Adjust their strategy for the next time. This is only week 3. We do have 8 weeks in our regular season for the Corporate Esports Association. And after that, all teams will be seeded into the tournament. So we'll get even more Starcraft after that.
Yeah. So I believe Red Hat has a 2-1 record now. I don't know the record of the Google YAM team.
Google YAM 1-1 coming in. Sort of a large fight for the middle of the pack. Lots of 1-1 teams. Handful of 2-0, handful of 0-2. But with the Swiss tournament style, we're generally going to match up against very similar skill competition, especially as the season continues to progress. Teams that reach the 5-win mark will automatically be placed out, go into the tournament. Otherwise, they will just continue to battle, reinforcing the competitive levels. Unfortunately, or not unfortunately, but large range of skills in CEA, everything from bronze all the way up to grandmasters. So we see all kinds of levels of play. Good opportunity to see, you know, what the perspective is. Not all of us are high level players. Can speak for myself in that regard. So a little bit more familiar maybe to your ladder games back home.
Yeah, well said. Good games today. I don't have a whole lot else to add. We'll look forward to joining next week for more.
Yep, tune in next week, 3 p.m. Eastern, for week 4 of CEA Spring 2019. And on behalf of my casters, my co-casters, Big Tisano, Patch, and myself, Eagle Searcher, thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week. GG.